Thưa quý vị, trong khi những cảnh báo về tác động môi trường của dự án đập thủy điện Sayaburi và Don Sahong vẫn còn khiến các nhà hoạt động môi trường phải làm việc liên tục, thì mới đây Thái Lan lại đang lên kế hoạch nắn lại dòng chảy sông Mê Kông để chống hạn hán. Việc này được giới chuyên gia dự báo sẽ gây tác động nặng nề hơn đến sinh thái vùng hạ lưu, đặc biệt là vùng đồng bằng sông Cửu Long của Việt Nam. Và để tìm hiểu rõ hơn về vấn đề này cũng như những cơ chế mà Việt Nam có thể trông đợi để hạn chế những tác động, ngày hôm nay chúng tôi đã mời đến trường quay ông Mark Goichert, Cố vấn Tổ chức Bảo tồn Thiên nhiên Quốc tế WWF về nước và an ninh năng lượng tại khu vực tiểu vùng sông Mê Kông mở rộng. Hi Mark. So thanks for coming. So I have mentioned about the project of Thai government to divert waters from the Mekong River for the agricultural industry. So in the opinion, how this project will impact downstream the Mekong River?
The first and most obvious impact is it will reduce the dry season flow, and by this it will allow salt water to intrude further into the delta, which will have detrimental impact on the rice cultivation. It will also reduce nutrient, which is very important also for agriculture, but also for the fisheries, inland fisheries, but also coastal fisheries. It will also contribute to reducing further the sediment load, and the sediment load is important to keep the stability of the delta, meaning ensuring the delta doesn't sink. So replenishing of sediment is very important.
And how about how it impacts the Vietnam agriculture, village and its people?
It will first have an impact on the rice. It will make the dry season rice more difficult because more salt intrusion, less fresh water. It will reduce the natural fertilization capacity of the Mekong, meaning that the farmers will need to use more intrants, more fertilizer. And it will also affect water resources in general. It will affect replenishment of fresh water into the aquifers, and also it will exacerbate coastal erosion.
And how about the role of governments which are affected by this project and how they respond?
The government of Vietnam is aware of the challenge, and they have, through the Mekong River Commission and through other means, tried to do something about the problem. The issue is that part of the problem lies within the territory of Vietnam, but most of the problems originates upstream, outside the territory of Vietnam, which means it is more difficult for the government of Vietnam to act directly, and they have to do in collaboration with the upstream neighbors.
And in the opinion, what mechanism can this government can rely on to resolve the conflict?
The Mekong River Commission is the existing mechanism, and the government of Vietnam has been very active through the Mekong River Commission to address those issues. The problem is that the member countries disagree on the procedures in their interpretation. This means that to some extent the MRC is dysfunctioning, and as it is dysfunctioning, it is difficult to address those potential conflicts. So the problem is the government of Vietnam is a bit stuck in addressing the issue for the time being.
And do you think that the Mekong Agreement has become obsolete?
It has not become obsolete, and the countries are working towards fixing it, if you want. The problem is that those issues are urgent and that it will take time to fix it. And in the meantime, poor decision making is being made and the wrong projects are being pushed ahead. When there are opportunities for good projects, there are solutions for water resources that would be a win-win for upstream and downstream countries. They are not realized now because the failure of the MRC for the time being.
What can Vietnam, Laos and Cambodia can do to ensure that UN Convention on the non-navigational use of international watercourses is enforced?
So the UN Convention on the non-navigational uses of international watercourses, in short we refer to the UN Watercourses Convention, is the best option to move forward towards a resolution of the issue. It has different value added in the fact that it reinforces and not nullifies or contradicts the convention. And by doing this, it can allow a better tool. It will provide a better tool for dispute resolution. And this will also allow to clarify rules of procedures when the MRC procedures are vague and subject to different interpretations. It will also allow to have one and single rules for the mainstream and tributary dams, which is not the case with the MRC agreement so far. And in general, it will not replace, but it will bring a higher standard of accountability for the countries and will better guide them to find better trade-offs and better solutions for infrastructure development, for a win-win for all.
And one more question. Can WWF do anything to help Vietnam?
We have been working in close collaboration with the government of Vietnam in different ways in promoting the UN Water Courses Convention. Vietnam was the first country in the Mê Kông to sign the convention in 2014 and the 35th country in the world to ratify it, meaning it is the country that brought the UN Water Courses Convention into force. The problem is for the time being that the other countries have not joined, so it is difficult to use it. WWF has worked with the government of Vietnam to go through the procedures of ratification, and now we're collaborating to disseminate the benefits of the convention to the neighboring countries and ensuring that they would sign. But in the meantime, because time is short, even if the countries have not signed the convention, they can use the guidance from the convention and apply it in the framework of the Mê Kông River Commission in order to address those immediate challenges, like the challenge of the dry season flow and the extractions in Thailand, but also the bigger and more concerning challenge of the impacts of mainstream dams on the delta.
Okay, thanks again for coming.
Welcome. Thank you for inviting me.